Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. This is Industry Insider. It's a podcast that provides in-depth one-on-one discussions about video games and what it's like to work inside one of the best mediums in the world. Discussions are hosted by me, a professional game designer. My name is Dai, and I'm currently engaging in casual interviews, hoping to educate you guys either from developer standpoint or consumers alike. Today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Tamika, professionally known as REDinFamy. She is an accomplished producer, consultant, host, and reporter. She is also published in the Innovations Esports Book of 2022, noted as a pillar of the esports community. She is also the founder of GEEKGAMETYTE, and we will be discussing her background, some of the resources she's found useful in her career along the way, and also having her shed some light on marketing, brand sponsorships, and how she bridges the gap between games and other industries. I have her Twitter linked in the description, but other than that, hello, welcome to the show.
What's up, Di? That was a seamless intro. I must say that was a seamless intro. But what's up?
I'm just chilling. I got off work today. Actually, we've been on crunch mode just for preemptive hard deadlines. So today I came in on my off day and worked 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Then they were like, "You can go home now." And I was like, "Thank you."
Yeah, those crunch times, people don't understand. Like when it's go time and to really get psyched in. Like, this is your show, right? It's your show. But I gotta ask you.
Go ahead. You're welcome to. Yeah.
Mentally, how do you prepare yourself as a developer for crunch time?
I don't. For crunch, you get you're like half baked 24/7, and you have a caffeine addiction. So you basically just couple Red Bulls a day and call it a night. I think at one point in time, when I was working like 60, it was like 40 hours of overtime. I posted my timesheets on the internet one time.
Wow. And
I had like 40 hours of overtime. And I think one time I tweeted, I was like, "Is it safe to have more than 5 Red Bulls a day?" Because it was, it was dangerous. It was sketchy.
So yeah, I was twitching probably. Sorry.
I fell asleep with a sandwich in my hand at my desk.
Nah.
I was like sitting there, I was sitting there and I was like, I'm just gonna take a quick nap. I had my sandwich in my hand up to my mouth, and then I woke up 17 minutes later. It was like 2 o'clock, and I woke up like 7:18 or 2:18, and I was like, I'm gonna finish this sandwich, and I'm gonna go splash some water on my face, and I'm gonna get back to work because I'm here till like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So I was like, I still got 6 more hours, so I might as well just make the best of it.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't explain crunch because it's like it's mandatory, like it's in all games. It doesn't matter if you're making Lego Star Wars or God of War Ragnarok. Like it's usually always mandatory.
That's crazy. I mean, I get it, because that's even with other industries too. There's like this so-called crunch with something. So I get it. But damn.
Yeah. I want to fix that crunch, but I mean it is what it is. It's a production pipeline, so like any product, it's got to get out properly and on time. So
they give us what we need.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate that. I'm going to refer everybody in chat, everybody who's listening, I'm going to refer to her as Red for the entirety of the show. But thank you, Red, for coming on the show, expressing your interest, and, of course, responding to my DMs and emails. And, yeah, so I guess we'll just start off. What's your first game that you remember playing?
Oh, man. It's all due to my pops. Him playing on his Master System that my mom got him as a gift.
Oh wow, a gift.
Yeah, got him as a gift. So my parents is what got me into gaming, but the first game I can remember is either Golden Axe and also further like Alien Storm too. So those are like my remember, because I was a baby when I recognized the hell I was doing or looking at. I just seen what my father was doing, and I wanted to do everything he did. That was cool. So I seen he was playing something that was colorful the screen, and I wanted to play too. He tried to play me. For all those out there that's either older siblings or parents themselves or aunts or uncles, you know, that one child that wants to play and you give them, well, nowadays everything is wireless, but back then you had the wire that you plugged in. Mine wasn't plugged in, and I was like, it's not moving. I'm not moving, and I had signaled that to him. But yeah, that's like the first game I could remember playing.
Yeah, mine was so when I immigrated to the United States in 2005, I basically got like a care package like welcome to America. This is all the cool stuff that's been happening over the last decade. So I got like an NES and an iPod. And
You're
so
lucky.
I know, it was crazy. Yeah. So I got an NES with a box of games. There was like 30 some games or something like that. So it was like Zelda, it was like the gold cartridge Zelda. I had Hollow Man, DuckTales, I had Super Mario Brothers, and I had Contra, and Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3, but I never played 3 because I didn't think the theme music was as good as 2.
Wow.
I know,
you
controversial. I know, I loved it. And then my father saw that I just absolutely loved playing games. So then he went out to the flea market and got a PlayStation 1. And that's when it really started. Because after that, I was playing games like Need for Speed, Tekken. I was playing Metal Gear. Well, I played Metal Gear. I'm doing air quotes right now, but I played Metal Gear. I don't know what I was doing. I had games like Action Man and, Gran Turismo and stuff like that. It was really cool to be able to play a variety of games and be able to jump, especially since immigrating to 2005. From 2005, I was able to get all of the consoles that came out prior, and then of course I got a PlayStation 2 only a couple years later too. So it was like 2006 or 2007 when I got a PlayStation 2.
Okay. At least you got the foundation down.
Yeah, and then from there, like I just ended up going over to my friend's house, borrowing games. So games like Mortal Kombat, games that I had no business playing. You know, Mortal Kombat, Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, like, you know what I mean? I'm at that point, I'm 10 years old, 10 or 11 years old.
Sounds about like my brother during that time playing those games. So we was all up for it. We just knew what type of child he was. And you know, my mom never really, she never censored, like, of course, like sexual things, of course, but other stuff than that, she didn't really censor us from certain things. And I mean, growing up in New York anyway, you can't help.
No, I'm in the DMV area, so I'm not too far away from you.
Yeah, so you understand, like, it's there, and you know, New York is a unique place. But I'm happy she didn't censor. Like, my mom is who introduced me to Mortal Kombat, like as a kid. So like,
yeah, I lived in like a lower income neighborhood, so like I just, like you said, it was just out there. Like as soon as we walked outside, you know, like it was so funny because I had remembered like somebody walking by and hitting on my older sister, and they were like, "Hey, baby," and obviously we don't speak English, so she was confused. Like it was so funny looking back on it now, but we were having a conversation at dinner, like, I can't believe somebody called me a baby. I'm not a child. I'm grown. And it's like there was a huge disconnect in the English language. My bike got stolen and like a bunch of crazy stuff. But, you know, I actually really enjoyed the friendships that I made in the area, which definitely helped foster my love for video games. So jumping from the PlayStation 2, I went to the 360. And then I still have my 360 games, but I have like 90 360 games. And then, of course, you know, with the 360, you know, and the Red Ring of Death and stuff, I ended up hopping back on over to PlayStation 3.
That
and then
was me.
From there, I stayed from 3, 4, and then 5.
That's me. I play everything, but that was me because from PlayStation 2, then going to college, like during that era, I didn't have money for books, let alone money for a goddamn PlayStation 3. So the 360 was the option, and I had like the regular 360 where you had little cartridges you had put in.
The hard drive up top.
Yeah, I didn't even have the hard drive. I had to struggle with the damn cartridges.
Yo.
Yeah, like I was like, damn. But yeah, it was go time. I mean, my boyfriend at the time, he had a PS3 later on because we got sick and tired of the red ring of death. I remember my brother had the 2 rings, and Microsoft wanted to tell me like, yo, we can't help you. I was like, okay. I made that joint 3 rings, and then I was able to send it in. But yeah, the same thing. Like the 360 was doing its thing that year, and then after that, when I went back home, like to where I was used to with the PlayStation, because it was Sega, PlayStation, and I had like the Game Boy and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had a Game Boy Advance as well.
Yeah, I had the Game Boy Color. I had the regular Game Boy when I was struggling. For all those that are 80s babies but 90s kids, when you in the back seat of your mom or parent, your father's car, whatever, and you will wait till like the night lights come on so you can see what you're doing, that struggle for sure. Unless you got like the Pelican accessory that had
I was so jealous.
Light.
I was so jealous of everybody who had a PSP. Like I went on a school trip for the first time. We was going to King's Dominion. And everybody had PSPs and Game Boy SPs and like all that cool stuff. And I just, they looked at me and I'm leaning out the window, you know, trying to get the light from my Game Boy Advance.
They don't know that struggle. They do not know that struggle. So yes, by the time I got anything, I had a Game Gear, but you know how the Game Gear was like loading up a gun. It took like 6 AA batteries. So like, you know,
back in the day, AA batteries lasted like 40 minutes.
I'm like, who thought of this? But that was and then after, you know, the 360 was killing it. You know, PlayStation figured out a great price point. And
after they got, you know, lampooned on the internet,
it was getting demolished. And the first thing I experienced on PlayStation was PlayStation Home. Like that was the very first experience on the PS3 for me.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Home.
PlayStation Home, I spent a lot of time in there.
A lot. It was fire. I thought this was the most incredible thing. I was like, wow, I'm meeting people without adding them to my friends list. Like I'm just conversing with them, playing bowling or whatever. And I didn't even add them, but I was able to communicate and play with them. Like that was the first metaverse that I experienced ever. I'm like, Sony, y'all did something, and why didn't y'all continue? Like y'all keep doing it all the time. Like, so hopefully it comes back. But yeah, I have the same story, you know, 360, you know, PlayStation for a while, of course, and then 360 and then PlayStation again.
Oh yeah, that's awesome that we share that in common. And you know, when I went to I went to college for theoretical physics and a minor in philosophy, which is like the farthest thing away from video game development possible.
Guy is gonna break it down for y'all. Basically, that's.
But I was like, I heard that Kojima was announcing his last Metal Gear, quitting the game industry. I've heard it a million times, right? But this time it felt real with Metal Gear 5. So I had talked to my friend in school at the time, and I was like, what if we made games that we wanted to play? And he wasn't on board. Miles was not on board. He was like, nah, dude, I'm going to go start a coffee business. Life's good, man. You can do that by yourself. I was like, wow, great, okay. So I actually, at the time, Unreal Engine 3 was coming to its end of its life cycle, and Unreal Engine 4 had just came out, but to use Unreal Engine 4, it was $20 a month. It was a subscription service. And then you still had to pay the royalties. It was like 10% or 20% at the time. So Epic actually hadn't figured it out at the time. So I was like kind of scared, because for the Unreal Engine 3, you had to pay a $100 licensing fee to be able to publish a game. So every video game, every product you make, you have to pay the $100. So I was like, no, I'm just not gonna, I'm just gonna hold off. I'm just gonna pay for the subscription. So I ended up paying for the subscription and learning through templates and stuff like that. Then they announced that it was free. And from there, I just took off. I took off running, and it was crazy because in Vietnam and just back home in general, game development is not a job. Like, it's not a real job. So I was trying to explain to my mom that no, I'm leaving my doctorate's program so that I can make video games.
I know you
And
got
she, yo, she lost it.
I know.
She lost it. She was like, "Are you kidding me, Di?" I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm still using math. I'm gonna use my degree, but like for stuff I want to do." And I don't know. It took her a really long time to kind of understand what video games are, and obviously, conversely, how much they mean to me and how much they've had an impact in my life. So I think it took her a couple years to come around. The first time I showed her something that I created by hand, she thought that it was basically like magic, right? So she was like, "This is kind of cool." I was like, "I'll take it. Kind of cool. I'll take it." So that's how I actually ended up getting started. I was an indie dev, and then I actually ended up getting contracted to work on this project, which was this really cool Kickstarter project. I can't remember the name, but it was about 4 1950s housewives that ended up getting stuck in a zombie apocalypse because the military was going for super soldier serums, which ended up screwing up, and then it turned all the U.S. military guys into zombies. So so during World War II, like, who was stuck at home? The women. So it was like this play on Nazi zombies that had came out in like 2009, and I just thought, well, this is a really cool project. I actually really like this, but the Kickstarter actually didn't end up going well, so it ended up like getting disbanded. So I got paid for whatever I got paid for, and then that was it. Didn't get a name credit or anything like that because it didn't launch. So 2016, I actually ended up going to a convention, a game developers convention, and Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, I think, was there. And I was playing the beta, well, technically the alpha build, which, they just slapped the beta tag on it.
All the time.
Funny enough. And one of the developers came over, and it was the lead level designer, or senior level designer. He came over, and he was confused how everybody around me was playing the game, and I was sifting through the menus and checking the settings and, in the viewfinder and stuff like that. And him and I just had a conversation, and I asked him, I was like, how do you get to the AAA level? Like, from the indie level, how do you get up there? And he just said, my secret, I just make stuff, because this is a merit-based industry. As long as you make something and you can prove you know the skills and know how, you can get hired. And here's another secret. Studios are always hiring. Always hiring. And I was like, for real? He was like, yeah, I used to send my application to Blizzard
a gem right there.
Once a month. And I was like, no way. And he was like, yeah. So now I work for 505, and I've never made a game in my life. I don't even know how to program. He was like, I made some cool art assets and stuff, and made a rudimentary level, and I attached it to my portfolio and sent it into 505, and they just decided to, hey, we want to interview you. And I took that golden nugget, which was actually like a boulder of advice.
For real, like.
And I took it. And I ran home, and then that's how I ended up at Ubisoft. Just actually a year later.
Wow, that's interesting, because like, that advice period can go into depth in so many other things. And even for myself, of course, I do content creation and reporting and things of that nature. But now, of course, being independent, I work with other companies and things of that nature. But for a while, I was I was about to say freestyling, like giving a bar.
Bars.
Bars. I was freelancing. Shit, that is freestyle. I was freelancing, and a lot of people don't understand like the work that goes into it. And sometimes, especially creatives, we get too wrapped in our heads at, is this good enough? And
Yeah.
of course, people have the syndrome of, am I am I good enough for it? And just like what you said, just to create, um, and I was on Twitter recently, forgot the sis name, but she was just saying that she was so much in her head until one day she was like, you know what? I'm just gonna just keep producing content. Like I'm gonna just do it. I'm just whatever. If I don't got the light, I don't have the light. If I don't have the camera, I'll pick up the phone. Like so, but just creating and creating, you create so much. Someone, of course, is gonna pick up on something, or along the way, you're gonna advance yourself because you're gonna be so used to doing the same thing that you're gonna be adding to it and getting better and better at it anyway. So why not just, it's like you're documenting your whole process to greatness pretty
Yeah.
much by just keep doing what you need to do.
So now that you've heard my start, when did you start, and how did you end up starting? And what kicked you into the field, right? Because for me, it was obviously Kojima announcing that he was no longer making Metal Gear. So I took that as motivation to hop into it.
Yeah. For me, I would say graduating college during a recession is that really kickstart me into getting into the industry. And how that was is it was a very depressing time, being the first in my family, my immediate family, to graduate from college. I felt like I was trying to do the best thing ever, to
Yeah.
set myself up and be successful for my family and help provide not only for myself, but to help break generational so-called curses or anything of that nature. So I thought I was doing everything right. Like I made sure I had my grades on point. I made sure, because I went to a university, I didn't go to a college, so I went to
Yeah.
a private university. And I knew after college I was going to have debt. It didn't matter how many scholarships I had, I still was going to owe something back.
Yeah. So
And
you knew you had to make it because there was no parachute. There was nobody saving you.
Nah, there was no saving grace. There was no parachute. There was no soft landing after the fall at all. And I couldn't find a job, at all. And I went to school for marketing, which I regret, but I don't regret it because all the awesome people that I met. Because before then, in high school, I wanted to be a computer engineer, and that just changed when I had moved from New York City.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that creativity and something still in science could go hand in hand. So I was like, I didn't know. I didn't have anybody to force it that for me. So to answer your question, I listened to before I was listening to podcasts, and during this time, this is when podcasts really, started. And Step Your Game Up podcast, Gamer Tag Radio. I think, what was it? It was too raw for pause, but it was too raw for gaming. They was some brothers on TV. They was like on public TV, and they had their show. And I was just listening to these people, and I was like, wow, they're talking about video games. Like, this is something cool. And I got really into why did the games that I loved that I was playing, and now I had even more time to play video games. Who was really behind these games and why? And these people are speaking so passionate. I'm like, wow, they got the same questions I have, and they feel this way, and it inspired me. So those podcasts alone inspired me so much. And then even personalities, as YouTube kicked off, got to see my homeboy Javen, another good friend of mine, Treasy, and Malik Forte, and I got to see them, and then I got to see even Hip Hop Gamer, and we didn't know each other at all yet, but and I got to see all these different personalities, Jim's Playhouse, Crunk Girl. Then I got to see women talk about the things that I love, and all these people started to inspire me to want to be a part of it. And then PlayStation, the tester came out, and they were looking for, I think it was for their second season, if I'm not mistaken. They was looking for people to be on their second season. And I was like, wow, this could probably be my breakthrough in the industry by being on this show. And that got me into speaking to people who was in the gaming community. that didn't get me in the industry, but I was able to speak to some growing pillars in the gaming community that was showing, hey, we're gamers and stuff like that, because they wanted to be on that show too.
Yeah.
So I got to speak to people in the forums, got to know them more. If they had a remember Ustream, if they had a Ustream popping off, I would go on their Ustream. This is Justin TV. This was before Twitch.
Yeah, this is what he was. It was just him.
Word, it was just Justin. Yeah, it was Justin TV. So I would go on people's different Justin TVs and support them and look at their content. And I was like, wow, I could do this too. So Twitter started to pop off and came about, and I would use that platform, that medium, to speak about what they were, since I didn't feel like I didn't have in my head, and it's so crazy because I'm a person that loves to do research. And that's one of the things in marketing I was into. I was in public relations and like market research, and I wanted to do that stuff. So I was so surprised that I didn't think about that. Hey, I can have a website and it'll just say whatever it is .wordpress until I get the money for a server. I didn't know these things, and I don't know why I was so ignorant to that. But I was feeling that same way about a podcast. I thought I needed all this different equipment to do all this different stuff. So I would even practice on my iPhone at the time. That's when I had like the first iPhone. And I'm glad y'all know the history, y'all. Like the history of all this stuff. And I would practice on like how I would sound if I was to be on a podcast right on my phone, and just play around and do reporting and things. I never in my life thought I would be a reporter, especially not in gaming. So I would just speak about different topics and how I felt about it and my views on it and takes on Twitter. And during this time, it was just 140 characters. It's not what we have now. So you had to be right to the point with it. And I got discovered actually through social media from a known editor, one of the editors of the Source magazine.
Oh, wow.
And then at that time, Black Enterprise. And he gave me a huge shout out. Shouts out to Anselm, because that's who got my foot into the industry professionally, because I got my check. It's okay, I got a check. And I'm talking about money for doing something that I love. So he asked me like, hey, he was like, shouts out to REDinFamy. She's a dope Black woman that knows her stuff about video games. And he gave me a shout out. At that time, I didn't know he was an editor. He didn't have nothing in his description that said anything of that nature.
Oh, so you just thought this was like just a random interaction.
A random interaction. And then I think like a week later, because we followed each other, he gave me a DM saying, hey, I'm the editor at Black Enterprise. Would you love to write about gaming for us? And I was like, what? I was like, hold up, what? And I was like, hell yeah. I was like, hell yeah. And he didn't ask for any writing material. And I was like, no, I didn't ask him, because I was like, you giving it to me, you giving it to me. No, not slight or smite.
Oh yeah, like blessings. This was yours to lose kind of deal.
Yeah, so I didn't ask him like, do you want writing samples? Just in my head, I was like, wow. He really felt that I was able to really articulate anything I was thinking about on that subject, because I was able to do it in 140 characters.
That's so funny because, sorry to interrupt, but that's so funny because just like it was like a random interaction for you, the project manager, that one of my friends was a project manager for Microsoft, and he was the same way. He went to school for something completely different, and he was actually a bellhop at a hotel. And this like big C-level executive comes in one day and then just randomly tells him, you want to work for me?
Wow.
And he was like, yeah, sure. And that's what kickstarted his career.
You never know.
You never know. Like opportunities could be anywhere. But anyways, continue.
Yeah, I mean, just off of that alone, like you never know who's watching you. You never know who is a fan of yours. You never know. So that's why when I see these people acting crazy on the internet, I'm like, yo, y'all might be smiting yourself on certain things. It's one thing to express yourself and how passionate you are, whatever, and y'all want to fanboy out, but y'all sometimes take it over gaming and hit below the belt on things as grown individuals. Your act is beyond immature. And I was just so surprised that I got that opportunity. He didn't ask for any writing samples at all. And I was able to interview you know, a black developer. Shouts out to Drew with UB Land. I was able to interview my first developer. He's a black developer with UB Land, and another black entrepreneur that had something in the making with gaming. And it was so incredible. I was able to bring gaming to an astounding established black periodical called Black Enterprise. Like my mother and grandmother used to get Black Enterprise in the mail like randomly. And I was like, wow, I just got to see all this inspiring things, but I was a part of that and actually bringing gaming. And that was like my first professional step into the gaming industry. And that was in 2012. And I was like, wow. And then there on, I went to PAX East. I got to
PAX is so much fun.
Yeah, that wasn't my first gaming event because Hip Hop Gamer, when we first dated, he invited me to go to this is when it was called the Video Game Awards, to be his date there. And that was my very first gaming event, which is crazy because I was on the red carpet. I was able to speak to people. I got a chance to meet my favorite, Amy Hennig. I love her writing in video games.
She is fantastic. She is a brilliant woman.
Very brilliant. Like he cut everybody's damn interview going. He was like, no, she gotta meet Amy Hennig because she loves Amy Hennig. And I got to meet her and take a picture with her. I got to meet Hideo Kojima. I got to meet him and speak to him.
I'm jealous. I started my Twitter so I can interact with Kojima.
He's funny. He's an interesting guy. He is funny. Hulk Hogan said Mika Mania to me.
Oh, wow.
Interacting with him. Troy Baker. I got to meet Troy Baker before he blew up.
Before he was a household name.
Yeah, before he was a household name. He did the Joker. Like, that experience was just so astounding. Just to even see The Walking Dead win Game of the Year, which was one of my favorites that year. And I was like, wow, this indie Telltale Games won Game of the Year. It was just so like crazy. But the cool thing about that was I had like put it in the air, and I was speaking to, shouts out to Javen Gaming, one of the OGs, the vets in the gaming community. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to E3 next year. And so be it. I was at E3 like before I met anybody. And I didn't know that would happen, but I put it out there in the atmosphere and the universe for it to happen, and my dream came true. So, and then from there on, from PAX to E3s to private events and so forth, then seeping into esports with the fighting game community, which I love, and just meeting so many different individuals that I never thought that looked like me was in this industry, because what is shown is not what's actually there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people that look like me. There's a lot of Black women. There's a lot of Afro Latinos as well, a lot of brown. So we don't get depicted like we're there, that we make things, but we are there. We are the pillars. We are the creators as well in different aspects. And then I just got to learn so much of it. And what I love is that I still keep my ears to the community, to the streets of gaming, I would call it, because, that's where I come from. I come from speaking and interacting on social media with video games. I never left it just because I entered a professional realm of gaming. But I love that I was able to see all aspects of the gaming industry, from the community to the corporate world of it, to the media side. I got to see all aspects of it, and how a lot of people are missing information from those different mediums of it.
Wow, I'm jealous. I'm jealous you got to meet all those people and get on the red carpet before
it was fire.
Before you are actually a household name. But I wanted to interview you today, because I think I've seen a lot of discourse on these gaming streets these last couple weeks, where people like to discount marketing, retail, and pretty much anybody who doesn't actually just program the game. And I got into a lot of arguments on the internet where I was trying to essentially defend people who make video games. I said anybody who worked on the game is a game developer, right? Like I'm myself a game designer, so you just in general implied would consider me a game developer because I do design work.
Yeah.
But a lot of these people don't consider what you do as game developments. So I wanted to bring you on so I can talk to you about how, well, I want you to shed some light on why it's important marketing wise and PR and other things, why content creation and everything like that is important to us as game developers. Because like you said, you were reporting and you were writing pieces. So stuff like that is very, very important to us because that is the window to the outside world. When we finish a product and we're creating a product in a production cycle, you guys are the ones that push this out. You guys are the ones that generate the hype. You guys are the ones that reach all corners of the world, right? So a lot of the time when I was working in Ubisoft, a lot of people said, don't think about what a million people are going to think. Think about what Timmy from Idaho is going to think about your video game or think about your stuff. And you are the reason that Timmy from Idaho knows about Watch Dogs Legion or knows about any video games that I've worked on. So yeah, I think that's, again, massively important. And I do consider I consider you a critical role in what I do as a profession. But I wanted to ask you, what was the moment you knew you made it? Right? Was it your first published article? Was it your first check? I mean, was it seeing your name being credited? What was the moment?
It's so crazy because it's one thing to, see the check and be like, wow, I'm doing this. I'm really doing it. But it's another when you get a private message or a DM from someone that tells you how much you inspire them. And that's when I knew I made it because I knew I was making an impact in some form or shape. And I remember, I forgot the young lady's name, but if I pull it up on Facebook, this was a long time ago too. And she was just telling me she was a teenager or a young adult. I forgot. But she was just telling me how much it was an inspiration to see me try and do what I do. And no matter what, and she see how consistent I was. And she said I was an inspiration she wants to do the same thing. And she was just giving me a thank you for doing what I do. And I felt like I made it because I made an impact. And that's, before just selfishly, of course, wanting to be in the gaming industry because, wow, I get to speak to these people. I get to go to these cool events. I get to get the perks of different things of being in the industry. My main thing, because I got that honeymoon effect was very short in a positive way though, but it was very short because I understood when I went to E3 for the first time, I didn't see a lot of Black women. I could count on my hand. I didn't see a lot of Black men and Hispanic men and women either. I could count on my hands, like how many. And we would do the nod, like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like it was not that many of us. And the people that I know to this day, I'm still great friends, and I feel like they're my mentors, and they don't even know it. From Cherie, who's the editor-in-chief of Laptop Magazine. She's the first Black woman to be an editor-in-chief of a tech magazine, to Keisha Howard, who is a remarkable pillar, period, in the gaming industry. Like, just knowing these women that been doing it for a long time, me almost as long as them. And then 5 years later, going to an E3 and seeing more Black women enjoying and seeing them on Twitch doing the damn thing. Because before then, it was not that many of us. We were there. We just didn't want to show. We just didn't want to show that we are here because of all the backlash. I remember my first time going, like we was mentioning in 360, my very first time going on Call of Duty 4, I got called everything out of the book. It's like everything.
It's lawless. It's lawless.
Dude, I'm on your team, my guy. Like, and so like I said, I'm from New York City. I grew up with mostly guys as my cousins, so I knew how to have. That's why I got the quick comebacks all the time. And my mother for sure is the queen of that, so that's why I learned it from the most. But I had to have a thick skin, and like then I had to develop to actually make other people leave out the lobby because I'm staying. I don't like my kill streak. I'm staying or whatever. My KD. But there's other people who don't have that upbringing or don't know that they have that within them. And that's when I knew that I made it, is because I was able to inspire someone to do what I do, and hopefully they're doing it better than me. So that's when I knew I made it, was from that interaction of a Facebook private message like, hey, thank you so much. I love what you're doing, that you're showing us Black women that we do play video games. We can interview people and we could do it in the best way.
Wow, yeah, I actually, again, we are similar in this regard. I actually got a Twitter DM, and it was this person, his name was Matt, and he was such a fan of Watch Dogs Legion, and he had sent me his cosplay. He was like, do you like it? And I was like, I love it. I was like, this is the greatest thing on planet Earth. He was like, I bought the collector's edition, blah, 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 this and that. I was like, you know what? For that, I'm gonna send you a signed poster from the studio, and I'm gonna give you my E3 pin, because I've never at this moment in time because I used to be on the other side.
Yeah.
So I used to be the one fanboying. I used to be the one like, oh my God, you guys are amazing. Like, and now I'm looking at myself, and I just thought to myself, I was like, wow, this is the moment where like something that I did had an impact on somebody, to the point that they took time out of their day to message me, took time out of their day to, make a YouTube video of them reacting to our E3 showcase, took time to, I don't know, make this mask and all of this stuff. And it was super cool to be able to see all of this stuff. And I just thought to myself, like, when you're working in a studio, like I'm just one person. Like I'm just one person out of like 200 to 300 employees. So I'm like, I can't, it's just a job, right? Like I come in, I do my job, I go home, they ask me to do this, blah, 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 this and that, blah, blah, blah. But here's the moment where it like, somebody reached through the screen and was like, what you did, what you contributed to has had meaning to me, has helped me out, has helped me pass time, has this and that. And then secondly, when I was like, this is a moment, and I kind of doubted myself too. The moment I knew I had made it was we were up for a Game Awards award for innovation in accessibility. And I was like, that's our game. I saw it. I went out to the store. That's our game. I was like, okay, this is it. This is awesome. Like, this is so cool. And yeah, it didn't start at my first check, though. To be honest with you, looking back, I probably shouldn't have done what I did with my first check. I went and bought a car.
Oh, you a whole NBA player.
Yeah, I was, hey, I was a tax season baller. All right. Like, I was like, yo, this is it. This is my tax refund. Like, I went and bought an Audi A6.
Oh,
I jumped straight.
Said, listen,
I jumped straight to the top. I jumped straight to the top on a whim too. Actually, this is so embarrassing to admit. I've never actually told anybody this, but
got the A4, the A.
Yeah, I got the A6, and I did it to impress a girl, which actually ended up being my wife. But it was our first date, and it was Madison Square Garden, a League of Legends tournament, Immortals versus I can't remember the other team. I think it was Cloud9 versus Immortals. She was wearing jersey of the opposite team that I was repping. And I don't know, it's just something about her. But yeah, when we went out on our first date, I was at a car dealership. I don't know why I was there. I just felt like it was a good idea. I stopped. And there was this car sitting under a tree, and I was like, how much is that? And they were like, oh, it's this much. And I was like, I'll take it. Like, I can't. Wow. I was driving a Chevy Impala at the time, and I couldn't. I just felt like, yeah, I was like, I can't show up to this girl's house with my Impala. It doesn't even have AC. So I was AWD. It was all windows down. You know what I mean? Like,
Wait a minute, AW.
So
no
like
all-wheel drive. It's
all windows down.
down.
You know, like I don't know. I just felt but that's what I did with my first truck.
Okay, you balled out. I don't even know what I did with my first. Like you.
You probably did the responsible thing and put it away.
I put it away most likely. I probably bought some sneakers and then put it away. But like you went to go buy an entire car. Like,
to impress a woman, mind you, to impress a woman.
At least listen, now it got these macho dudes just impressing men call himself macho. So listen, you came out good because you came out great because she's your wife now. So that's with that for sure. But that is interesting.
Yeah, I was what was it? How was it? 2019, 2018, something like that. It was. Oh man, I was barely 20. I was 21 in 2018.
Wow.
So I didn't know anything about anything. Well, sorry, I'm 21. I thought I knew everything. So I'm up and over the hill, and I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm set. I'm set for life. Like I work at Ubisoft now. I'm set for life. I made it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was it. It was dumb, but I mean, I got the girl, so I guess that's really what matters. But anyways, moving on. You mentioned sneakers, and I actually saw this a bunch on your social media, which again, this is actually prior to the show starting. This is actually what I wanted to say. I think you are so cool. I was telling my friends about this because
making my cheeks blush and everything. So,
because I was like on Twitter, and much like how you were saying earlier about like social media presence is something that people should be mindful of, because you never know who's on the other end of the telescope or the microscope in this sense, right? It could be potential employers like with you, and it could be actual employers like with me. So I was I ended up following you, and I saw that you were unashamedly yourself, but at the same time, like you were on social media, like working and doing your gig, doing your content creation, everything like that. I dropped by one of your streams, and I just thought to myself, she's the coolest woman that I have met this year. Because like she just keeps it, like there's an air to her that is genuine, and that's very hard to find in my industry, in our industry. Actually, it's very hard to find somebody genuine. And also at the same time, it's very hard to find somebody who, again, has a outward appearance that is themselves, right? And I'm unfortunately at fault of this. I don't actually sound like an email 24/7, but that's the image that I have to put up, because work is always, I have a very strict social media policy. So there are a lot of times where I'll tweet things and then I'll have to take it down immediately within 20 seconds because I'm like, I don't want any emails.
Yeah, that's the hard thing about certain responsibilities and positions that people don't understand. But I really appreciate those sentiments, like for real. Like I said, it made my day to hear that. Because I'm just being me. And why I say that is because I grew up being a shy little girl. I'm still shy. People are like, no, you're not. Yes, I am. Like I'll say hi, whatever. It's probably gonna be I'm gonna feel like it's awkward in some way or form, but y'all might think it's cool. I'm like, yo, this awkward as hell.
Well, that's just the effect of the gaming industry. Like, we are innately introverts that have to wear an extrovert skin all the time. When we wake up, when I drive to the studio, like when I drive to work, like I have to put on my extrovert skin, like. I don't want people talking to me, like this. I'm the kind of guy that's like, this could be an email, I'm that guy all the time. But unfortunately, I have to like get up and, my wife, I'm sure my wife is tired of hearing the fact that I'm like, man, I'm just tired because I had to talk to people today. And she's like, that's great. That's a great thing. And I'm like, no, it's terrible.
Oh, man. I mean, like, I love people at times, but I'm saying I love people as far
in moderation,
in moderation. But like I love meeting new people, and I do love finding out especially when someone's passionate about something, I really love to hear their story on whatever or what they're into and things of that nature. That's why I did miss going to events and just seeing people in their element. I love seeing people in their element, and even people who are socially too socially awkward. It's nothing wrong with that, but I did like I will go. I love anime, and I will go to this local anime convention at NYU, and a lot of socially awkward people, but they're around themselves and they're trying to like not be that person, and it's dope. Like I've been around those type of people that may feel that they're awkward or may do some awkward stuff, but they're like, shit, I'm having fun. So it is cool, even going to gaming conventions, the after parties, and seeing people who love anime, love comics, want to break down their Yu-Gi-Oh deck or whatever and want to talk about stuff like that, but they're having fun too in a different aspect that you would have never seen them in. So I get it. I do get it. And it's great just to hear that, just being accepted for just being me. I never wanted to conform to something that I wasn't just because I was in media. You will still hear this New York accent. You will still hear some,
which I'm a huge fan of, by the way.
Thank you. It's not OD, but you will hear that. I remember being told, "Well, I want you should be the Olivia Munn," and I'm like, I'm how?
Yeah, so, like when you wake up and look in the mirror, you don't see Olivia Munn,
I'm not an Asian white woman. Like it's not gonna happen. Like I have to be me and be me at all times. There's no room for a code switch. And I could get down. I love to represent that I can articulate myself and be myself at the same time and have some fun with the people that want to chill with me in my streams or want to give their take on what I wrote about or what I made a video on or who I interviewed, anything like that. I love that. I love that we're in a space now. I come from the era in this space where I had to make my own opportunities. And before social media, the social media boom, we didn't have those opportunities a lot of time, especially with all the systemic racism with different things. Now we can actually make our way, kind of turn the tables around and make our way the way we want it or how to get into it. And that's how I got into it. And I'm happy for that. I'm happy that the newer generation can have that too, that feel that they're misrepresented or underrepresented and could pave their own way in whatever the hell they want to do. So I'm just happy to hear that because I love being able to talk the way I want to talk and do what I want to do and still love what I do.
And that's a lot of the reason why I think you're really, really cool, because like it's just genuine. It's just real. And that's that's something that's hard to find in the industry, just because everybody wears their extrovert skin or their extrovert suit, and much like myself, they have to come off as professional because there's always somebody watching or there's always somebody doing something. So yeah,
and you can be both. You can always be both. Sometimes that can be whatever quote unquote professional means.
I have a lot of personal opinions about that, but I guess we'll keep that. I'll keep that away from this for now.
I'll say it for you. But yeah, like some people take themselves a little too serious. Some people like to be people that they know damn well they're not. I've worked with people like that, and just like I was speaking about the young lady who messaged me during that time, I was going through a situation where I was working with people that were not in my best interest, and they had their own selfish motives. And it was depressing, especially being the only woman in the group and feeling like my integrity is always questioned when I'm helping their stuff. Yeah. So, I'm happy to be myself when I was told to try and be someone else or why I said this or why I did that. Yet the whole people and even the developers is loving my energy and what I'm doing, or what I'm saying to them. So I really appreciate y'all. I appreciate you for. I'm honored to even be interviewed. It's always an honor and a blessing to be recognized, and I hold dear to it every day.
Well, you touched a little bit about it, where one of your working experiences was, working around people that didn't have your best interests. So I wanted to ask, like, what surprised you the most when you first started? Because, and also, thank you. You really don't have to be honored. I'm really just a regular person.
Oh, you're not. No, you're not.
But when I first started, like, I had my first gig at Ubisoft, and I remember walking in and thinking to myself, like, and at this time, again, I'm like 2021, completely shielded from the game industry. I have no idea what it takes to make a video game. And I come in, and my first encounter was a racist comment. And I, like, what? I literally just started, like, and yeah, and I'm following this person around, shadowing them, and I mean, I brushed all of that aside, because I thought to myself, like, hey, I'm here now. This is what matters. Like, I made it. My foot's in the door. I will put up with everything else. Put up with everything that comes with the territory, right? And I just didn't know how much came with the territory. But yeah, I was constantly in people's cubicles and constantly emailing people and talking to me, like, what are you doing? So, not to be rude, but like, how is your job important? And I was like overly excited to be there, and I'm sure I got on everybody's nerves, but I wanted to learn everything that I could, because I didn't know if this was like a fever dream. Like, I was gonna wake up tomorrow and they're gonna be like, hey, Di, don't come back, So
wow.
Yeah, my first experience was understanding the game industry was my biggest surprise, because I didn't realize the working conditions. I didn't realize what crunch was yet. I mean, up at the time I was working, before then I was in school working at Best Buy. So like the most I've ever worked was like 30 hours a week. So this was like my first big boy job. And yeah, so all of that stuff surprised me. Like the actual work surprised me.
Yeah. I mean, for me per se, industry wise, it blew me away how, of course, I would see certain things. So I would say this at first, where I got to recognize, from a personal standpoint, and also even like working, I was able to be blessed to work with independent companies and large companies too. And I got to see how you're treated differently. So me working with an independent site compared to me working with Complex and Black Enterprise, and like, and I know these people. Like, I would say like two. I would give two examples. So I actually met this person before, and I was like, yo, I'm the same person. It's just the name at the bottom just changed. Like, it still says Tamika Moultrie, it just say a different name today. But I see how it was, and I was like, wow. Like, I when I went to do something, I believe it was for Complex, and I got treated totally different just because of a name. And I now see why some of those people that I worked around, the colleagues that I never met or whatever, just in general, as fellow media personnel, how like privileged they'll start to act, just because, yeah, I'm so and so from IGN, or I'm so and so from, and I'm like, but you have to say that other name in order for you to be relevant. Can you be relevant on your own? Can you stand alone as your own brand, separated from those companies? The answer would be no. Because most of those people, they fly in one day and fly out the next day. They are not there all the time, the whole E3. So they don't even understand certain aspects or whatever. They just there for an assignment, boom, 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 bam. But don't act like you're better than someone else, And I got to see that even from the independent website style. If I didn't know these people personally, there were certain things I wouldn't be able to even get. So I would actually make genuine relationships with different PR personnel, or developers, or executives at those different companies. So that was one experience that I was like, wow, y'all give it up like this. The other was someone at a company, and he wanted to say as if like he didn't remember me. And I was like, I had to check him, and he is a so-called person of color too. I
Oh,
said
okay.
so-called for a reason. So and he's
I see.
I'm like, I met you. I had to tell him like, and I had to tell him again because what he said was racial. So I was like, first of all, there's no reason for you to forget me because there's not too many of us black women here reporting consistently. It's not like a fly or buy type situation. I'm like, I've been in this industry for years. You've interacted and sent me emails back and forth for years. And he was like, well, your hair changed. I
Oh
was about
boy.
to say, bitch. I was like, I checked him. No, but I checked him so lovely. It was in front of 3 white women. And they was like, like, it's like, you do have a
Like
point.
they just witnessed a murder, you know?
Yeah, I'm like, so my hair from curly to straight was that different. But I was like, if I didn't know her name, let's just say Susan. I was like, if Susan changed her hair color from blonde to red, you would still know that's Susan for some reason, though. But if I went from my hair being curly to straight, that changed your whole outlook of who I am and my name. I'm like, do you hear yourself right now? And he felt so
Crickets.
stupid.
Crickets.
So like, he felt so stupid. But and I'm like, you brown, like, yo. So he's that just pissed me off. And I had to check him in front of everybody because you lying to yourself. You see me all the time. I like semi-tall black woman, like cute anyway, but I just felt that like, really, that was your excuse, and you said that shit out loud like I wasn't gonna say nothing black. Like, come on.
Can't believe it. I
Like,
again are very similar experiences, and again, this is all through the gaming industry, and it's wild to me to think that in that moment you're seeing, well, I'm probably to that person, we're seeing like, you're out of line, you're doing too much, you're, whoa, stop, you know, like, well, we need to keep a certain air around us. And I think that that's something that, again, it happens in studio culture and just the gaming industry culture as well too. But I wanted to ask, like, in your field of work, because obviously you're on the outbound side of the industry, like, how is it interacting with us, and how is it that how's it how do I phrase this? How is utilizing our products in your day-to-day life, and of course making that an outbound sale or an outbound piece of information? How does that affect? Because I want to ask you the dichotomy of game makers to games to, you know, to gaming media, because I'm not in the gaming media. I'm just in the office making games. So to me, I have a very, I'm not gonna say toxic, but I have a very complex relationship with game reviewers and the gaming media in general. So yeah, just wanted to ask you to shed some light on that.
Okay. So being in the industry for the time that I've had, I will say this because I have to check my colleagues at times. And I feel like, and I had the same discussion with a public, like what you're asking, like I had this same kind of discussion with a publicist. And I was she's a really good friend of mine. I was at E3, and it's a like hardcore Japanese publisher.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit in like still double A, but can be triple A. But sitting down, this game is fully subtitles. Okay. So I'm playing and I'm actually reading the subtitles through the game. I'm not skimming over them. And this is how we became friends. she was like, wow. She was like, thank you so much for like not skipping the subtitles. And it was weird because I was like, but how would I know what the game is about? So like, she was like, you'd be surprised. She was like, most of the people that came to cover the game, they skipped over all the subtitles and just went into the game just to see how the gameplay was and not actually what the story was about. And she was like, I really appreciate you sitting down, not going through your appointment and really wanting to know what the game is about. And I was like, yeah, because I would have been lost. Like, I mean, I have like the rundown, that we all know, jump and do this and that, but I really want to know what the story's about, or I can't cover it correctly. So she was like, I thank you. And it's like, that's sad, because that means that that's becoming a lost art with certain things as a professional that want to so-called call themselves a game reporter. So if you have and I had a discussion with her, I was like, to be honest, I was like, y'all created that beast. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, y'all as publicists would, I said, not you per se, but your fellow colleagues as publicists for these different game publishers have created a beast with the larger outlets that y'all make them have a privilege to do whatever they want to do, and they're not penalized for it. They break all different types of NDAs and embargoes. Y'all give them stories. It's not like they have to go and do the footwork or investigating reporting to do what they need to do. They just handed it, and then it's assigned to someone that's probably not even freaking interested in the game to begin with. Like, y'all actually fed that beast. Y'all don't have great different review guides to say, hey, y'all could take y'all time with this game. This can go out this time. Y'all made it so much on who's going to be the fastest to review this first. So then that game is not even properly reviewed. Somebody probably played one goddamn chapter to 2 chapters to 2 hours of the game. Yet this is a fully loaded game that you can't come to a conclusion that quick if it's 20 hours long, or if it's 40 hours long for a type of experience. I was like, y'all actually created these beasts that are breaking down what we call video game journalism, and it's not looking good at all. And then y'all can't get upset because y'all created this, and then now the developers got to go through this shit because of what y'all created. It's a trickle down effect, and it's still happening now. And that's why, like, I told some people that's in the industry, I was like, it's a shame when I was at this one E3, I was at EA, and you could feel the stiffness. Like, a lot of times when I go to these press conferences, the stiffness that's in the air. And it's like, but this is gaming. Nobody should be stiff. I should see some weird ass people, something that we call weird and cool, and you don't. You see some stiff ass people that you would see in corporate, yet they call themselves gaming journalists. I'm like, they don't even say a wow, ooh, ah, nothing with the stuff that's shown. I'm like, yo, that's why I love, shouts out to my baby hip hop gamer. He always kept his personality no matter what. And that's what I had loved before us being a couple. Like, I always loved his energy and what he brought forth to the gaming industry. And a lot of developers love him for that, because people, like I said, are so jaded. And even the newcomers are jaded. I'm like, y'all just got here. And don't get me started. Excitement.
Yeah, don't get me started, because
don't have excitement at all. Like, I would be like, yo, we would be at the Sony press conference, like, oh my gosh, screaming. And then Microsoft used to always go first. And I'm like, y'all have the whole Xbox game ambassadors and they're not even saying nothing. You didn't see that Gears, like, you didn't see what happened with Gears just now? You're not excited? Like, you was like, I wanted to go down there and smack somebody into life. Like, you a Xbox game ambassador. You pose a chair at every damn thing. You're supposed to be excited about everything.
It's nerve-wracking being on the other end.
It's very nerve-wracking because the people on the other end don't see that. And when I was at this EA press conference, it was a shame that it was so goddamn stiff in there, like somebody just sprayed the whole room with starch, that they had to get people off of the streets that was fans, and they was like standing outside just like wow, EA is here, I want to go in. And they got people off the streets that are fans to actually put some goddamn life up in the air during that press conference. Like, it was so embarrassing, like, to say, yeah, I'm a gaming journalist, because it was just too many stiff asses in there. And like I said, if you don't want to be in this industry anymore and is jaded and you fed up or whatever the case, you need to leave. And that's with anything. You could come back later when you get the little itch to want to say something or whatever, or to create something. But if you are done and you're tired or you have some type of fatigue, you need to take a break or you need to just leave, because it messes up with the overall like heart of the gaming community and the gaming industry, because you can tell when a project does not have any love within it, no passion within it at all. You could tell when an article was just thrown up just to be first, or to have some cliche clickbait title that makes no sense. Like people reviewing games talking about shit that has nothing to do with the game. Well, he punched her in the face, and I just felt like in this time we should not be punching women. But the game has nothing. It's zombies. So what are you talking about? Like stuff like that. And I hate all of these alternative motives in games right now. That is like, are you serious?
Yeah, it's like I don't even know how to say it. It's scary being on the presenting end, because I was at the Ubisoft Connect, or at the Ubisoft conference, like there am I gonna get in trouble for saying this? I don't know. There are people who hold up signs that says please clap now, because like that's just how stiff it is. Like
Yeah.
and it's hard as a developer, because then you know, the media comes in, and you know, IGN or whatever it may be, IGN, Game Informer, they come in like, all right, let's talk about the game, and I'm like, I'm so excited. I'm super excited. I was a gamer first before I was a game developer.
Exactly.
So to me, it's like that pipeline is just like, I know the love and the passion carried me into this job. So I'm ready to jump at any moment to talk about games. And they're like, okay, cool. So what else happened? Or
Word.
so what's the, you know, how long's
that.
the game? And I'm like, you don't even want to talk about the game. You just want to hit the bullet points and then leave. You know, 20 minutes fly by and then go to the next game.
Developers hate that, y'all. I've literally seen people from the biggest names, and then by the time I come there, they're like, thank you so much. I'm like, it's like, thank you for actually asking me damn near how I'm doing. Because I'm like, I know you was in here for like 10 hours. Did you get something to drink yet? Do you need me to get you something? Because no, for real. Like I knew this one, he was hostage. I was like, are you like,
yeah, like we can't leave.
I can't leave. I'm like, your lips is really I'm not trying to be fun. I'm like, your lips is ashy. Do you need something to drink? Because, you know, we have our little section. I could go and grab you a water real quick, because a lot of times it's really strenuous and it's back to back. And I was at Activision. This dude was just asking questions that had nothing to do. I forgot. It was Black Ops 3, I think. Had nothing to do with the game. And Vandahar was like, yo.
Fed up.
He was fed up because the guy was going over my time. It was my time now to go and interview him. And he was like, I'm so, like, the PR and then himself was like, I'm so sorry. It was just this idiot was in here earlier that didn't ask me nothing about the game. And he was like, I thank you so much for really taking time and asking about what we made and how you're excited for what's to come or what should be added next. And I was like, you know, thank you. But that happens a lot. And I'm like, it's one thing to have like the offsetting questions, but your whole goddamn interview is like, is offsetting, or you wasn't prepared. Or a lot of times these people who want to call themselves gaming journalists was not gamers, just became gamers, or they couldn't get the actual position they wanted someplace else in journalism, and gaming was open. And I'm like, you shouldn't be here if you have no passion about it, because we know you don't know what the hell you're talking about. It frustrates me.
It's just,
but
yeah,
that point of the different dichotomy of everything, of we are important to disseminate news, but at this point in this industry, it's becoming a lost art. And that's why things are shifting over to the content creator, because the content creator has an organic following, and you could pinpoint your market right there and then, because this person, from someone who's quote unquote maybe small, medium, or a larger influencer or content creator, I would know, okay, maybe I want to go with the smaller one because they have more of an organic audience. They know their audience. And so I might want to go with that.
And this is very important, because actually I do want to talk to you about how when you shifted to content, or not shifted, when you paired your job with content creation, and now it's just kind of just a natural flow for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In Watch Dogs Legion, we had Stormzy featured in the game. We launched a music video with him in the video game, and the mocap session. If you guys didn't know this, mocap is extremely expensive. It costs about $65,000 a day to shoot mocap. So just having Stormzy in the studio, in the reserve or whatever, and on stage was already $65,000, and that's not the price of him just showing up in the game and writing a specific track for us, and then of course us having to shoot over the course of several days to make sure that this music video is launched in time with the game. And it was very cool to be able to shoot this music video, and I thought it was something that transcended gaming and just moved itself laterally into interactive media. I mean, there was even an interview that the creative director of Watch Dogs Legion did in the video game. They shot the interview in the NPCs and in the game engine, and I thought that was super cool.
He's big, man. So yeah.
But moving that content and being able to share that content with gaming journalists, it's like they don't care. They were like, okay, well,
no, they don't. They probably don't even know who Stormzy is.
Yeah,
so.
Some rapper showed up in game. Cool, moving on. But when we as game developers, when we shifted that to content, to the hands of the content creators, it was like everything that I was doing made sense. It was like you guys gave me a reason to continue working because I saw the passion in everybody's eyes. I saw, oh my God, this is so exciting. Like, oh, he's representing UK. Like, this is awesome. And I was like, this is what we need. Like, game developers work tirelessly day in and day out. And then the media mogul people are like, cool, I guess, moving on. And it's like,
your job is about to get salary. So it's like
a lost art, like you said. And so when we transition that to more content creator focus, which Ubisoft as a whole has been doing over the last couple years, it's like there has been nothing but hype for our video games over the last couple years. I mean, Valhalla had jumped up to be one of the best-selling AC games in the last few years. Watch Dogs Legion doubled the sales of the previous entity, and to me, again, that's like leveraging content creators, and content creation is a huge facet of the gaming industry. And I think moving towards that, it's very, very cool as a developer to be able to see the passion back in the gaming industry.
Because why do it? Like, especially as developers, of course, you're making something, but y'all are making content to, of course, see how someone can share the experience that y'all made too, that then have to interact with it. And like I said, a lot of y'all gaming journalists, I'm a gaming journalist, also stuff. That's about to change. Like, your job is about to get shifted out, because it's just like how these websites, these so-called media outlets started to change into a blog-like form, because bloggers were becoming the next best thing. They were dishing out content very differently. It was straight to the point, on point. It wasn't so wordy. A lot of people, if they're going to read something, it has to be snackable and to the point, unless they want to get something like, okay, we could still have the New York Times or something like that, or some other type of, whatever. But with gaming or certain fast content, you either want a video or something snackable, and that's how blogging was better than a lot of what these content, these big companies were doing. And now they shifted over to do blog style. Their articles are blog style now, and I'm like, that's going to change with the reporter versus the so-called content creator. I seen that during EA, at EA Play. The content creator shit was the huge arena, and the journalist was all stuck.
It was a line. It was like a little line.
Yeah, and then we were stuck like in this closet damn near sitting down. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm a content creator too. Like, let me
just flip my badge real quick and go over there.
I was able to breathe. And I was like, you see how it's dying out, because You have gaming journalists. There's no standard to anything. You review whatever you want to review. These different reviews are hurting the developers because you're not properly reviewing anything correctly. And then you have these suits that want to spearhead and put the game out fast and what it should and don't want to listen to developers. And you got some developers that damn near sabotage the game because like, we can't take this shit no more. Yeah. Like we see it with some recent projects, and now it's just a whole cluster of nothing. Now y'all just ruined the entire 5-6 year project because no one wanted to listen. And your consumer is constantly, there's Twitter. You have your consumer. You have your Reddits, your Twitters, your M4. Well, I won't even say the M4G stuff, but you have your NeoGAFs. What is the Resetra now? Like you have these different places that are still in old form of forums where you can see where the real fans are and listen to what the hell they have to say. Because these are the people that's playing hours and hours of your game, not the journalist that has to have another game to review the next day. So it's like it's going to be kind of shifty out here soon if a lot of companies don't get it together and a lot of journalists don't get it together as well, because your name is just your name, but that company name holds way more weight if you didn't establish your own name as a brand.
Yeah, like when I read an article, the article is an IGN article. It's not the bylines article, right?
Nobody read the byline.
Yeah, well, yeah. whoa, okay. No, you said it. Saying, you know, it's like, real. It's a fact.
Unless, people go there. They will see, the actual title. They'll see the score. If they wasn't cool with that score, then they go to the byline.
Once they start doing research, that's when the byline matters.
Who wrote this? When was the last game they reviewed or talked about? Oh, that's why. Like, then they'll start doing that. But a lot of these gaming journalists, y'all gonna have to tighten it up a bit on skills because, like, for real, y'all are getting outbeat. We get it out. I'm not gonna say we because, I could transform to whatever, it's content creation as a whole, period. I established my name, REDinFamy, beyond, of course, just me depending on an establishment. That's what I've done. So I don't have to say, oh, yeah, I'm here because I'm writing for such as. I don't have to do that. I'm happy that I did do that early. And the content creators are going to tell you how it is. Then you have some of these companies that want to fake it out because it's the so-called trendy thing to do. It's just so funny. And it's just crazy what's happening in the gaming community now and the gaming industry. And I feel like there's no standard to be a leader in how things should go nowadays. And that needs to change. And if not, then the content creators can hold the mantle and see how that goes and hold the standard with that.
Oh, that's a perfect segue, actually. Thank you for doing that for me. So I wanted to this is a two-parter, actually, a big one.
Okay.
Is there a common myth about your job, either in the journalism side or the content creation side? And the second question I wanted to ask is more towards the content creation side. Like, how do you decide which ideas are the quote-unquote correct ideas? And then, of course, we can shoot back and forth between game developer and media journalist.
As far you're saying like if there's any like, say that again. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the first question, we'll attack it one by one. What is the common myth about your job?
Oh, the common myth about my job is that I get everything so-called for free, and like I have all of these awesome perks at what I do. I get into everything for free and all this other stuff. And because I get things for free, I don't really have an opinion on it. Like, that is a huge misconception.
Yeah, because we do, our PR team does pick and choose who we give. I don't want to say this in a negative way, but I mean, they pick and choose people that would predictably give the product a better light, because obviously as game developers we don't want to make a bad product. Nobody wants to make a bad product, you know. Nobody wants to make a crappy article, nobody wants to make crappy content. Like, I don't wake up every day and strive to make bare minimum assets and bare minimum work. So that, you know, thank you to the PR guys and the marketing team. They're actually doing their job. But yeah, it's hard. It must be hard to have people think that you're constantly like, there's just this giant pool of like, oh yeah, I'm a media journalist, and then we just, you know, you're on our emailing list, and I'm like, all right, Red, you know, new game comes out, here's the code. Do you find yourself combating that a lot?
I mean, this is a thing. It's like we've seen recently where this certain outlets is like, oh, we didn't get a review copy because whatever. And I'm like, well, a lot of times, yeah, just because you cover something, you're not always guaranteed. There's a catch-22 with the situation of getting game reviews, and just to clear the situation that, well, I always have to clear for people, because I've seen certain comments like, well, you got the game for free. I'm like, I didn't get nothing for free, because I have to give content back out. There's some type of exchange. This is Full Metal Alchemist right here. Yeah. There's some type of law of exchange where I have to give content. I've been making content forward. If I'm able to get a review copy, great. If not, fine. But if I'm working towards something, it would be great to get the review copy. If not, if I really enjoyed and want to, because like I was a gamer before everything, then I'll go out and get the game. Shit, if I really like it, I'll go and get the collector's edition of it too. So, you know, before all of that, I'm a fan first and a gamer first. But like I said, publicists have fed a beast and have created a beast too. This is where you do get companies feeling kind of privileged that, I have friends in the industry that are publicists, and they're like, yeah, you know, we give it to there's this tier list in media, and we'll give the top tier list whatever they want, because we know there's ad revenue and we know this and that. And I'm like, but what if they shit on your game? So you just wonder if they say this game, which can have some positive points to it. What if they like, you know what? We might get more money out of this by actually doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Or let's get somebody who don't know what they're talking about to actually review this instead of somebody who is.
Yeah, and then the article's, you know, headline is
it's a headline.
Watch Dogs Legion is hot dog water, and it's just like, you know, it's got a million clicks.
And this person may never have played a Watch Dogs game, which is fine. Like, I'm transparent. I'll say, you know, if I'm new to a franchise, I'll be transparent with my audience. Like, this is my first time. Maybe it's user error with X, Y, and Z. But for anybody, it could be a 3-year-old. This is what it's. If it don't look good, it don't look good, but the gameplay is fire, you know, or the voice acting is on point. It wasn't synced with their lips, but, you know, they probably get it right the next time because of the budget. Like, it's this understanding the whole scenario and perspective of what's going on. You have people that don't care about all of that. They just know, boom, I got to get this out in 3 hours. Like, or whatever. I got to get this out by such and such time. And it's like, you have the publicists, I said, y'all created a beast, because this is where you get people saying, oh, I don't understand why I didn't get a review copy, because we have over 1 million, you know, clicks and all this other stuff that come to the site, and we get this and this and that. And it's like, but all you do is shit on PlayStation products, though. So
hey, clout is a very intense drug, you know?
Yeah, all you do is talk bad about Xbox. And even if you do have a really critical analysis of what you're saying, they don't ever do anything right. You know, like, it's like when people want to call me a Sony pony girl, and I'm like, so I don't ever give Microsoft props on nothing. I don't never say what Sony needs to be doing right now, because I'm not, like, I'm happy with the content that Sony's giving out. I don't love what they're doing marketing wise, like, at all. So I'm still a Sony pony. I'm damage controlling. I'm the corporate slave or whatever, like all these different terms. No, because I'm not a stand for these companies at all. It's like there's certain things that need improvement and people don't talk about it, then it's not going to get fixed. There's a way to do constructive criticism, even for a game, to not just defecate on it. Like it wasn't worth nothing.
And that's what I was
telling
a lot of people.
Unless it wasn't really worth anything.
Which is fine, you know. I was telling a lot of people on the internet, I was like, you know, people are like, I get this question a lot, does Metacritic matter? Do gaming journalists matter? So I'm like, they do a lot, because it's not the same asking, like, if I were to ask every person who bought a copy of my game, the majority of the people will probably say something like, yeah, I liked it, it was fine. But the gaming journalists, the gaming media, and of course, conversely, you, are the reason why we actually are able to take constructive feedback. When we do a post-op on our game, and everybody in the studio is talking about it, it's like we pull up the reviews. So we'll pull up your review and be like, hey, she didn't like the way the story dragged in the first 5 hours. And it's like, that's the reason why we rely so much on you guys, is that you guys are able to actually give us tangible feedback, metrics. You know, that's the number scoring system is very important to us. It's like there's a physical metric in which we can measure our success, or we can measure what we did properly.
I really hate gaming scores, though.
I do as well, because it's been skewed to be like anything up below a 7 is trash.
It's trash. Even a 7 is trash. I'm like, but 7 means good.
Yeah, like 7 is passing. You know, 9 is like fantastic. A 10 is like a must play.
Masterpiece.
Like, 5 is like rent it. You know, if you have the time. Anything below a 5 is like avoid it. You know. So it's like, but
it's so skewed. Is no common factor. Like I said, there's no standard. So it's like the gaming industry is like the wild, wild west still.
It is, because gaming, at least in regular journalism, I don't want to say this. That sounds terrible. Regular journalism, in journalism, there's like a standard. There's the Reuters template. You know, like it's like the way articles are laid out, the language, the who, what, when, where, and why. It seems to me like in our industry, it's like all of that gets thrown out. Like, and that kind of leads to the common myth thing, is that like, for at least my job, it's like everybody thinks that we have to go to school to become a game developer, and that's not true. We're a merit-based industry. So again, I didn't go to school for game design. I don't know anything about color theory, and yet here I am level designing. So it's crazy.
I didn't go to school for journalism.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, I was like, is that the same on, you know, the outer edge of the gaming industry? Do you guys have to, like, do you have a degree in journalism, or is it preferred?
This, like, my experience is totally different, which has been a blessing. I don't know, because I've never been asked. Like, of course, I have a communications degree because of marketing, but and I, like, to be honest, if I was hiring somebody, I wouldn't even care, like, because I'm not saving nobody's life. So, like, I'm not trying to make sure nobody life is getting screwed up in some type of way, or something might collapse. Like, so I feel like in certain, like, anything in creation, I don't really feel the need that someone needs a degree, maybe a certificate, maybe in certain things. Or I feel like a lot of what they need to do is actually pass a class on gaming history and the gaming, and actually study the gaming community and study gaming as a whole. I would care less if you went to school for journalism. Of course, I will want you to have some points of grammar, whatever. Now there's programs to help you with that. So, like,
and that's what editors are for, right?
Yeah, that's what, you know, editors are for, and even the editors be failing at that time. But letting some things fly, like, who did this go through? But I would love to see your work. What are you able to do? What can you show me, type of stuff? But no, me personally, I don't have a degree in journalism. Do I feel like people need to have a degree in journalism? I don't. because we don't see that being beneficial right now at all. Just keeping it a buck. It's just not. I would rather someone that understands video games, passionate about it, actually play it, and can back up what their perspective and their argument is. If you can't back, because people are like, but it's my opinion. Can you back your opinion up? And if you can't back your opinion up, why should I listen to what you have to say?
Yeah, it seems like that. It's nice to know that the merit system is both on the inside and on the outer rings and permeates through the entirety of the industry as a whole. And then again, the second part of this question is like, when it comes to your content creation, how do you decide which ideas are the correct ideas or the quote unquote correct ideas? Like if you, let's say, did you ever get a chance to play Watch Dogs Legion?
I did. I streamed it.
Okay. So when let's say you're writing an article, like is there a process? Is there a decision-making process in which you think to yourself, like, maybe this is not the right way. This is not the right angle. Maybe this isn't the right content delivery system that is most optimal for this game, right? So maybe something like Watch Dogs Legion, probably streaming it with friends and family or, viewers is probably more optimal than something like, let's say, streaming Elden Ring.
I don't know. Like, okay, so when I create my so-called content creation and what my plan was as a whole for me, it could be any game. It depends on what the game is. This one game I was like, I can't stream this game. It was just too much. It was just too much fan service, and I was like, I don't want to see all of this like right now. But anime fan service, I mean, my whole thing of me actually streaming games is because I wanted people to witness some of the dumb shit that happens to me in video games. But it's like just random stupidity that happens to me. Like me playing San Andreas, CJ was riding a bike, and out of nowhere, a whole plane fell on my character. I don't know why that happened. This is before streaming was a thing, of course. And things like that happen to me in video games. And I wanted to share those funny moments. But the whole thing is just really me sharing my experience on how I feel about a game and if that can benefit someone else. Just me just playing the game. But as far as like, it really depends on certain games on what can be streamable and what can't be. I feel like it really depends on who the actual content creator is. There's certain people that they love to stream. For example, shouts out the Story Mode Bay. She loves to stream mostly story mode stuff. That's her angle. Or there's people who they love to stream competitive fighting games, or they love to stream racing games and things of that nature. They might go off. I'm a variety streamer, so because of course I do report on things, I wanted to take a different approach to reporting on gaming by just sharing my experience on how it would be if they was to do the same thing and play through a game. This is what they experience, and maybe they may want to play it. Because a lot of times someone can talk about a video game, but can you show yourself on what you was talking about? And that's why I was like, the standard in reviewing games, the people who's reviewing, in my opinion, should show proof on what they actually came to that conclusion of. Because sometimes these people say certain things, and gamers that know the game in and out, and even y'all as developers, like, wait, whoa, did you like put in a code for this to get to this conclusion? Because we didn't go through that. So what are you talking about? And why did that happen? Oh, you don't know to use that type of gaming mechanic, but you wasn't transparent enough to say, oh, this is your first time playing this entry into the franchise.
Yeah.
You didn't play the first, so you don't know the mechanics down pat, or you don't know that's a reoccurring thing in this game. This is not like the other game you thought is supposed to be similar to this. So it's just the transparency. And to answer your question directly, I don't really plan out streaming content like that unless I want to play a cooperative experience with my brother. I'm like, oh, this would be a great game to play with my brother. Him and I have great banter. As being sister and brother, we might argue like several times as a sister and brother and go right back to some fun conversation, because that's just our personalities. We'll take things too serious. We love each other, but we will Like, nah, we will challenge each other at the same time. So that's the only time I plan things out streaming wise is, oh, I want to collab with this person, or I want to do this cooperatively to show this experience. But when I am streaming to give my first impressions covering it, the planning would be to try out every mode as much as possible, just to give the top layer of the whole iceberg at least. And then once I stream more, then people get to see more of the game if possible, until my final thoughts on it. But I don't go too deep into it because then I get into my head and that's a whole equation that I don't feel like solving. So like I kind of free spirit a lot.
Hey, that's commendable. I really respect that. Being able to use your morals and stick by what you feel is best. Again, what you value is best is transparency and the authentic experience, not some optimized, dolled up experience. Well, we have to play on this patch and this and that. Like this, if you turn the game on, if you go to the store, you buy the game, you turn the game on. This is what you're going to get. Yeah.
Straight to the point. Like, it's too much work, and I don't want to do too much work. Like, it's already work to set the stream up. I don't feel like all the extra.
Yeah. I guess there's the big question in the room is I guess the title is the founder. You are the founder of GEEKGAMETYTE.
Yes.
Could you expand upon that? I have no idea what that is.
Sure.
So please forgive me for that.
That's all right. Pretty much, so, in New York, we have different words that mean a whole bunch of different type of things anyway. But the main purpose of creating GEEKGAMETYTE was to make sure your game knowledge is always tight, like it's always on point. And the passion behind it was, of course, not seeing so much of my Black, Hispanic, and Native people being showcased a lot in the gaming industry. So I wanted to create some type of platform, some type of movement that will showcase us in that aspect that we are creators, we are developers, programmers, game designers, voice actors, cosplayers, love the nerdiest stuff. We love anything dealing with STEM. What have we innovated? What have we created, invented? All of those different pillars and passions, and show that we do exist. We don't get a chance to see Native, indigenous game developers, that made games that can showcase something that's not stereotypical that we see in other games that was not made from those people. It didn't even at least get someone to consult on the project to make it authentic, or someone Hispanic, from any Hispanic heritage, showcase that without it being stereotypical. Different Black voice actors, creators, developers, people who own their own video game companies. Like, a lot of people don't get to see that, and kids don't get to see that, so they don't think that they can be included in something if they don't see themselves. So I wanted something to show that we do exist. We're not unicorns. This ain't no black girl magic. It's not magical. It's something that is actually is here. Like, nobody made it like, oh my gosh, type of moment. These are people lives. And two things that I created during the pandemic was two series. One of them is called Hidden Code, where it shows Black, Hispanic, and Native game developers. I got to start it back up because I took a break from it because editing kicked my ass. So I got to start it back up. Where I got to interview developers that look like me, and what they go through, and how it was to be a game developer, and what transgressions happened and how they overcame it to be the game developers they are, and why they still are staying in the game industry no matter what, to change the narrative. The second series also was uncovering Black women in esports. Shouts out to Cuddlecore. She's the one who inspired me to make the series because she had a really great thread on Twitter, just specifying how it's a shame how a lot of Black women are not spoken upon in esports. Yet there's so many of us in there, from reporters to, of course, the athletes, to commentators and casters, or people who own their own team. Shouts out to my sis Aziza with Dynamic Focus. So just making things and sharing light to those stories not only can inspire people who look on who they see, but also people who are ignorant to the fact that we also exist in these spaces, and how someone can get those resources too to become what they want to become in the gaming or geek industry.
Wow, that is not enlightening. What's the term? Enchanting. It is amazing. That is stellar. Like, being able to, as a fellow minority, like being able to see somebody that looks like me, talks like
Yeah.
me, that is, well, basically me, in a field that I have interest in, is something that is underrepresented. It's underutilized, and frankly, I think it's just a whole vast land of discoverable content.
Yes.
And the only thing that I am fortunate enough to be able to be a part of something like that, of your company, is that I had participated in a program over the summer called Girls Make Games.
Mm.
And we rent out equipment, and, as game developers, we kind of help foster the love for programming, coding, animating, basically anything that it goes into creating games.
That's so
And
amazing.
yeah, and last year they ended up, we all ended up visiting Sony headquarters, and then on top of that,
Dope.
like, the games that they make during the summer, those are their games. I mean, the revenue, content share, the profit sharing and stuff like that. Obviously, we facilitate that through their parents, but that program itself is something that, frankly, when it was started and when I was asked to be a part of it, I thought to myself, I was like, why do we need one? And then that's when people were like, yeah, because people, like women in general and little girls, they don't see themselves in the industry. And I was like, I didn't even think of that. Like, I, as a developer, I'm just so ingrained coming in every single day. Like, these are my coworkers. Like, and that's something that I saw on Twitter this last couple weeks, this last month, was a hashtag trending called what a game dev looks like.
Yeah.
And I participated in that, and it was specifically for people who aren't, the status quo in the gaming industry. And so there were a lot of people that a lot of people that look like me, and then there was a vast amount of women in the industry that were tweeting this hashtag. And I thought to myself, I was like, several years ago, when Girls Make Games started up as a summer program, and here we are, like, there was one person that I DM'd for the show. She showed interest in. She is a Venezuelan native, and she moved to the Netherlands to create games, to be part of the studio. And she started in January, so she's only been part of the industry like 4 or 5 months now. And it's like, that's so, like, what we do has an impact as gaming journalists, gaming media, game developers, and the products themselves. Like, what we do has an impact, and it's nice to be able to, it's nice to be able to see this not undiscoverable, but like this host of content, this vast land of untapped content and representation being lifted up into our industry more and more over the last few years. So thank you for what you do, because as a game developer, I have brothers, I have sisters, I have a mother. I work with coworkers who are married, have kids and stuff like that, and it's like, we always want more. And it never really struck me how little representation we had until these last couple years, especially with all of these companies and programs starting up, and much like yours, bringing light to something that was essentially going to be in the shadows for a really long time, until somebody like you came along to really boost that up. So again, thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Want to give a huge shout out, like Black Girl Code, the Media Indie Exchange, Guerrilla Collective, like for showcasing Black voices in gaming. Like I seen a lot of crazy responses like, well, why do we have to just show the Black developers? Because we're not shown. Like you would never even think like, wow, that person was a part of that project. There are Black video game developers, you know, and it's crazy because Black people are the number one consumers in video game content, yet we don't hold any faces in anything. You know, we don't have a Black female protagonist that's leading a franchise. I was surprised to see Forspoken. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say like it. You know, I had saw some comments on the internet. They were like, "Wow, it only took 2,000 years." I was like, "Oh my god!" Like that's crazy.
Yeah, like the last Black female protagonist that was on the cover of a game. This was like what, PlayStation 1? I forgot what the name of the game was. But it was something dealing with shooting guns and stuff like that. It wasn't anything dealing with something that's like fantasy or anything of that nature. So we don't get to see that on a like over and over again. And even to have Miles Morales be the face that was pushing PlayStation 5 when it first came out. Yes, he's already an established comic character, but to see an Afro-Latino young man, you know, we don't get to hear those perspectives. There's of course, an African diaspora all over the world. There's Black Asians, there's Black Europeans. Like we don't get to see those different aspects correlated into something, you know, or Pacific Island. Like we don't get to see those different forms shaped into a video game to show their perspective. Is really interesting instead of seeing the same white dude that have brown hair is
a
being
bearded,
voiced by
bearded white guy,
dude.
number 16, yeah.
Yeah, that's voiced by Nolan North and Troy Baker over and over again. Like people want to play different stuff, you know, want to experience different things. So I love what's happening, and not just to depend on these companies or these more fulfilled white or Asian developers. Because even like you're from Vietnam. I don't know too many Vietnamese, you know, game developers, even from that aspect. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's great to know and see and discover who is all in this industry, so people don't have this one aspect and ask dumbass questions. Well, why is there Black voices in gaming showcase? Because obviously there's some underrepresentation happening, or we didn't know that this game was made by so and so or whatever, so it's needed. If we can't get it from this one company, that means we have to create it on our own. So yeah, like I love what's happening. I love people supporting one another and not just saying, oh, I want to be an ally. I want, you know, just like what my friend said, shouts out to Land Party. No, I need accomplices. You know, shouts out to Karama, the Blur girl. I need accomplices. I don't need allies. You know, if you down with me, like Rihanna said, you need to show up. So like to represent with me.
And that's the important part. It's like finding people just to show up, not even to, you know, we don't need tweets and we don't need retweets and we don't need t-shirts. We need people there. We need people there to show up. We need people to support us. We need people to give us the opportunities. Yeah, it's just massively understated. But as the gaming industry grows, because it's now larger encompassing than the movie, music, and other forms of media like combined, and it's moving at such a massive rate, and it honestly there's no sign of it stopping anytime soon, and it's taken on such a global appeal. Do you think it's comforting or scary, or how do you feel about such a dynamic growth over these last year, or just year on year in itself, and how do you think it plays into your space?
Well, the one thing is, you know, especially what happened to the brother George Floyd, we seen this so-called, you know, with his murder, we seen this wannabe as I'm concerned about Black people, about, and then it trickled over to underrepresented people. And it's like a lot of these companies were not genuine, because a year, 2 years later, we don't see those same programs or activations to make sure that people who are underrepresented get certain resources. It's not like someone wants a goddamn handout. It's just having resources that other people normally so-called have at their fingertips without any effort. Or when we do strive and try, we get smacked down right back again to count zero when we was just minding our business and just want to just be successful in something. So we see a lot of these companies like, oh, we're going to do this and that. We stand for it. And then, but your whole marketing campaign don't have 1 ounce of color in there. What do you stand for? It's like, what are you talking about? I don't see any underrepresented nothing on us. It's like countless and I just seen probably about like 2 Black people, probably 1 Asian and 1 Hispanic. Like, what?
Yeah, the Asian people are often seen as fodder for video game action protagonists. So we always see like, oh, it's the triad, or it's the gangs of this place or that place, or there's a military coup or something like that, and we see that many places.
A historical piece, but you get people don't get nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't get nothing at all. Or it's something very stereotypical or something very old, or at least there's historical pieces of video games. That'll do like, okay, during this dynasty or something like that, of that nature, but it's glamorized, and different heritage. We don't get to see that because it's either stereotypical that someone's a savage instead of this is their culture. It's not glamorized in any way. It's already offset to something stereotypical. So it's like, if y'all gonna do something and you want to stand up and you do want to show some type of sympathy, sympathy, empathy, or anything, something, then it has to be consistent. It just can't, oh, we had this 1 year program, we had these Black and Hispanic and whoever wanted to be included, like come in and represent their games. We had a game jam, and then the next year y'all didn't have that, and the year after y'all didn't have y'all went like right back to the shenanigans.
It's just a one-off, like oh, we're catching too much heat, so I guess we should do something real quick.
Yeah, because we don't want to be canceled by them.
and that's it's very unfortunate that I have to say this, but at Ubisoft we had a motto where if you wanted a character that was Black or Asian or just fair skinned, brown, or whatever it may be, we start the character concepts at the darkest skin color, and through management, through phases, through C-level executives, it will just get lighter and lighter, tone by tone, until it stops.
I'm like, well,
getting
damn,
passed
she
through all the
Caucasian
hands.
now, like,
yeah, like we created a character that was like so Black she was purple, and by the time she came back around through all the hands and everything, and back into our studio, it was like,
it was Jennifer Lawrence.
Shoo. Yeah, like that was exactly how she was. And they were like, I think it's just best this way. And it's just like, it was so hard for Blizzard developers to even get somebody that looked like Farah on screen or in the game. Crazy. And it's so, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't have to try to understand it. I don't want to understand it. It's just the reality of the industry, and I just hope that in the next couple years, as the industry is growing and growing and growing, and I mean, like, just actually fantastically is a better word. Fantastically, women are actually at a very, very close split in the gaming audience. Like metric wise, it's like a 48-52 right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like now we'll start to see more. I hope in the next oncoming years, in the next decade, this generation, that we'll see more game developers create towards to kind of go with the flow of trends and instead of against it. And it's very unfortunate that in the gaming industry, and I'm not trying to defend anybody, but the issue is that we have to, as game developers, we have to have foresight in what's trendy, popular, or just realistic in the next 5 years, because now it used to be development cycles were 9 to 12 months. So we're able to get representation, if we had any, in the previous decade a lot quicker. Now it's like, if I wanted to see a black female protagonist like Faye in Forspoken, that concept probably started 3 years ago. And it's kind of hard to dictate where we're going to go, political events, current world events, and stuff like that. Again, not trying to defend anything, but it's like,
no, but a lot of
it's
things
hard.
It do come off of trends. I remember when Obama was inducted, of course, and became president. That's when we got to see a lot of black male protagonists.
Yeah.
And I was like, you see this shit? So like it just becomes like a slap in the face, and it's crazy. But you know, the other trends should not be off of someone losing their life.
Yes.
It should not be by someone, you know, being treated in the craziest way just because of the skin of their color.
It shouldn't be
the color of their skin.
Yeah, it shouldn't be profiting off of somebody's misfortune.
You profiting off of someone's misfortune, or you want to now profit off of someone's heritage or whatever aspect of that person. I just feel like it's full of it, instead of making things organically so, or making sure you have those people on a team. You know, going for future wise, I want to see more of my people, of course, owning studios, being the director, you know, at the table, making these decisions, not someone, oh yeah, we called up so and so to see if it was cool enough. Like, for real. So yeah, I definitely want to see that. And you know, as far as women, I do want to see more. I don't want any corny ass because as a woman, no, as a woman,
go ahead.
As a woman, I do not want these corny as so-called feminist type of tropes that it just gets really corny. Like, I love Borderlands, but that was Borderlands 3 for me. I did not like the story because of that. It went OD on a level that didn't feel genuine to me. And you can make women empowerment so differently besides like the corny tropes that we see all the time. So it has to be from a genuine aspect. Like, that's why I love this, like the really dope story based stuff.
Would you say that the like a game like The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2, would you say that
I didn't finish it, so I can't.
Okay,
even...
I was just gonna ask if you think that representation is implemented better and genuinely.
I would say no. Like, even though I didn't finish it, I don't like how men are determining women's physiques, or men are determining, like, because you get this whole the men who want to be feminists. And I was like, it's so weird. It's like the men who want to be these feminists or whatever. Yeah, because I don't want to over sexualize her body. And I'm like, you just deleted her entire female physique. Like, her whole physique is not in any type of female like anatomy at this point. And I'm like, maybe a woman should have the emphasis on that. And I seen that as a trend going on in the gaming industry. It was becoming so annoying where you had these people who had these selfish motives. And I'm like, so you want to say, so breasts and buttocks don't exist, and hips, like, this stuff just don't exist on a woman whatsoever, and you feel that if you would put that on the design, it's over sexualized? And no, that's a part of her anatomy. So if you were to make her in that aspect, it's not making her, that's how she should be formed. Some women have more than others in certain places, okay, but you can tell. And I just seen that was declining a lot. It was like this whole trend, and it was annoying. It was really annoying because it was men making these decisions, and I was like, it was just so weird. It was just so weird to me. So I want to see really great forming stories, sisterhoods, you know, even showing sisterhoods in gaming. We don't get to see that at all. It's always something crazy, or so there's a lot of different aspects I want to see in gaming going forward, as we get more people in the industry that are comfortable, that are able to have their stay, and don't feel like there's some type of alien because they are so-called quote unquote different looking. So that's what I want to see in the future, and hope that comes to light.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I guess that's really all the questions I have for you today. So I guess we'll just get right on over to the closing questions.
Oh,
Yeah. What's one piece of advice that you can share with our listeners today?
one piece of advice: always be yourself, no matter what. If you have trouble and finding what that actually mean, just take time out and really, what makes you happy. What is things that really make you happy? How are you able to make yourself happy and not depend on others to do that job for you? And just do it. If you have something that you want to start, begin. Just because someone else is doing it does not mean you can't do it. You could do it better. You could put your own flair. Everyone has a different personality, a different aspect, different upbringing, different whatever perspective. So just do it. Don't think that you're saturating something. There's a whole bunch of humans on this one planet. So just make sure you do what you want to do and have fun with it. Have a passion for it if you have a love for it, and begin. You don't need all this expensive equipment. Because I thought that you don't. So there's a lot of free stuff out there now, and just begin it. Look, this is the first episode of this project. So yeah, just go out and be you and love yourself, and it's going to add on to what you want to portray out there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's I just it. Yeah, I totally agree. If you can create it, then there's a space for you. It's just the gaming industry is the most accommodating industry, which is odd because we hear so much from the inside coming out that doesn't support that. But as games have grown over the last decade, it used to be that I got bullied for playing games. I was called lame for playing games, and now
Yeah.
now people are playing games like it's cool.
Play games like it's cool. You got the cool so-called people. Like, I just love it. And yeah, there's a space for everybody. And even though the negative stuff that's heard, that comes with anything, just change the narrative and pretty much block the bull. Counter the bull. I always say, always counter the bull. There's going to be negative stuff in every space, but you could counter it by doing what you need to do to change the narrative of that whole situation.
Awesome. And the second closing question that I have is, where can listeners learn more about you?
Shoot. Like, I'm very active on Twitter. But aside from Twitter, definitely my YouTube and Twitch is everything's REDinFamy. GEEKGAMETYTE will be back online very soon. So you'll get to see more of my thought pieces on there, and even video content that will be on a site. And then other people, of course, that will be on there as well. Hidden Code will be back up and running with some new faces in the gaming space, and also covering Black women in esports as well. So that's pretty much everything. Is either YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. Everything is still REDinFamy, and then of course GeekGameTyte.com will be up soon.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me here on the first episode. You have been an exemplary guest. You have been amazing. You've been fun to talk to, and I looked down at the time, and it's been 2 hours. So I guess, yeah. So thank you for letting this or making this go by so quickly. And again, thank you everybody for listening. This has been REDinFamy. Again, accomplished producer, consultant, host, reporter. Published in the esports book, the Innovations Esports Book of 2022 as the pillar of the esports community, and of course, founder of GeekGameTyte. Thank you so much for sharing insights on your career, your part of your industry, and again, thank you.
Thank you. Also, one last shout out. I forgot to say, because I always do this, I am a host on Culture Code, which is a part of Afropunk's network. We do have our show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.